Okay, today we're going to build the Lego D11T. This thing looks absolutely awesome. It's huge. It has 3854 pieces. It's got a Bluetooth control system, several motors. So we'll do a time-lapse build and then we'll make a video of it running around. We're looking forward to it. Okay, did you catch all that? Well, let me slow it down and we'll talk you through the model. Okay, so this thing is absolutely huge, big box. It's got 8 bags of parts. You've got 2 big books to put it together with. So there's the first bag. I like to put the parts in little bowls here to keep them from getting lost all over the floor. The first part I like to call the core. So you've got 2 motors and you're putting together. And very interesting, they have these planetary gear sets. So these reduce the rotation right at the wheel hub. So as we proceed, we actually build in the Bluetooth control module here. So these first 2 motors are the ones that will actually power the treads. So they go from the motor through that gear reduction mechanism directly to the hub of the tread motor. So on to bag 2 of 8. You can see here I've got 2 more motors there. One of those is to change the gear train to operate a variety of functions, and the other is to actually operate those functions. So you can see the red and the yellow shaft coming out of those motors. Very complex gearing with some idler gears. This was about a 10 or 11 hour build for me. You can see here I'm adding 2 of the linear actuators. These are the ones that raise and lower the hook on the back. And then this assembly is attached to the previous large piece. I'll have to remember not to let the sun shine through on my time lapses. This kind of created some weird effect. And on to bag 3. Here we're starting to build the engine block with the moving pistons and the crankshaft. This is a V12 motor configuration, so you have 6 cylinders on each side in a shape of a V. Here is the exhaust being built. And here we put the exhaust on top of the engine cylinders. This is the roof going over the engine compartment. And a large radiator on the front. These are the linear actuators on the front that will raise and lower the sled. And we're already bag 4 out of 8. Here you can see I'm building the tread on the right. And here we're attaching it to the main part of the model. And now we build the tread for the left side. There is a mechanism inside of these treads where you turn a gear and it will slightly extend it, thereby tensing the treads. Very nice mechanism. And here we're attaching the left tread onto the main part of the model. We're halfway there, getting into book 2 and bag 5 of 8. Here comes that sunlight again. Here I'm building the cab where the driver would sit. And on to bag 6 of 8. I'm realizing that a big part of this model was building the cab where the driver sits. Plenty of black railing with walkways around the cab. And finally, we get to put the cab onto the actual model. And on to bag 7 of 8. Actually, there's multiple bags on each step. They all have the same number 7. Here we're building the hook mechanism that goes on the back of the model. These side structures will help the front sled pivot forward and backward. Here I'm counting out and attaching the treads to both sides. And here we're on to the final bags of parts. Here we're constructing the blade that goes on the front of the model. There's a large middle section, and the side sections are shorter but slightly angled. Here we're attaching the sled to the front of the model. The two middle linear actuators will raise it up and down. The two on the sides will pivot it forward and backward. So now we boot up the Lego Control app, and we have to select the Caterpillar D11. It tells us to turn on the model. As you first turn it on, it does a motor calibration. So I think it takes all these motors to the extent of their motion and then takes them back to their default positions. At any time you can do this again by hitting Service your model. It also reminds you to tighten the treads with those gears. The app has these sound effects. You can control it using this screen, or they have something called the automated driving system where you can set a pattern of movements. Very cool. The blade can go down or up. The blade also tilts backward and forward. If you listen closely, you can hear the gear changing, and then the ladder will come down. Again, you can hear the gears changing, and then the claw will go up, and the claw comes down. You can see the side doors open to reveal the engine. This red lever is how you turn the model on. Okay, so this is a really interesting function of the app. If you look to the right edge of the screen here, you can see there's an angle front to back and an angle side to side. So I've put that in the upper left part of the screen, but as you can see, if I lift the model, the angle is detected by the Bluetooth control system. So if I lift, you can see how it's leaning forward on the app. It actually has accelerometers or tilt sensors that can measure these. And here we're looking from the back. There are two ways to control it. This is the first. So we use the speed bar on the right to set the speed. Then we can flip the switch to put it in reverse. And the sliders on the left control individual track movements so you can spin around like a tank. The other method of control is to flip to mode 2. In this mode, you just push the knob in the direction that you want to go. So steer straight or backwards to the right, backwards to the left, forward right, or the stick directly to the sides to pivot. Okay, this is quite possibly the coolest part of the app. So we go to Programming View. We can drag the position of the model and then hit the checkbox. Then we drag it again, hit the checkbox, drag it again, hit the checkbox, drag it, checkbox. I'm just programming a sequence of movements here. Checkbox, and then I always like to make it face the same direction at the beginning again. Now we hit the play button. And the model, without any input from us, is going to execute all these movements. So we've programmed all these movements. And now on the lower left corner of the screen, you can see the relevant part of the app. And you can see it's just executing those movements. So cool.